At the start of 2015, I had $5,000 deposited in 13 accounts with online bookmakers, 11 of those in Australia and 2 overseas. Over the next 33 weeks, I grew that balance to $30,000 and in the process was banned by 8 of the Aussie bookies and severely restricted by 3 others, leaving me with only 2 viable accounts. And my only crime was that I was a winner. I had actually been arbitraging the price differential between bookmakers to my advantage, and apparently that's something akin to fraud in the eyes of the bookmakers. Now, I didn't even break any of their rules. I didn't take advantage of any of their weekly special offers, and yet they were able to close my account with no way for me to argue my case. This is just another example of where corporate Australia has the cards firmly stacked in their favour. The regulations covering online wagering certainly need review in my opinion, and I'll talk about this a bit later in the video. Now, an arbitrage occurs when the price differential between bookies is great enough that you can bet on both players or teams and be sure of winning. That's well and good, but when my son and I started taking this approach, the challenge was to actually find these opportunities without having to spend ridiculous amounts of time glued to a computer screen. With a bit of Googling, we found an Aussie site called Oz Sports Betting that compared the odds from a good range of bookmakers. It was free, and they even showed the percentage advantage that the bookies had over the punters. There were a surprising number of situations where the advantage was actually to the punter. Most of the time it wasn't worth worrying about, but every now and then there was a significant discrepancy between the prices at various bookmakers. This site is still active, and other sites have emerged providing an odds comparison service to punters willing to pay for the information. So all you had to do was calculate the correct amount to put on with each bookie and you just couldn't lose. Here's how it works. So we're on the Australia Sports Betting site, and if we come up here to odds, sports odds comparison, we come down here and you can see all of these sports that you're able to go and access to have a bet on. Now, there's one here that I know is going to be a good arb because I was looking earlier. So we go to tennis ATP, so that's men's tennis, and you come down here and you can see that there's a match here that's starting, what is it now, 5:15, so it's starting in 15 minutes, Voronin versus Kotov, and it's at 89.66%. Now if you just click on this, so we see here that BetEasy has Voronin at $13, Palmer Bet has Kotov at $1.22. So I come over to my ARB calculator, put $1.22 in for the first player, $13 for the second. Let's suppose I want to bet $1,000 on them. That's if I can get that bet on. Then the return would be $1,220. To cover that, I just need to put $93.85 on the second player at $13. Net result of all that is I only need to outlay $1,093.85 for a guaranteed profit of $126.15. All of that working on the theory that I can actually get these bets on. Now, of course, betting an odd amount like that is going to be drawing attention to you, so you might want to do something like round that off to 100, in which case you're going to be outlaying $1,100 and you're guaranteeing a $120 return. And if by sheer fluke this fellow here happens to win, then you're going to win more than that. You're probably going to win about $200. So that's the theory behind arbing, and yes, they are still available. You still can find them. If we go back to the screen, that was that one. There's a very small arb there on Aravalo versus Tatlow. That's around about 2% return on your money on that one. Now, in reality, trying to get $1,000 on a tennis match in a small tournament would be impossible. But you certainly could have placed $100 on at $1.22 and $10 on at a price of $13. That would give a guaranteed profit of either $12 or $20 on the arbitrage. That doesn't sound like much, I know, but if you can find 20 to 30 of these each week, then you're talking returns of say $300 to $400 per week. and that's about $15,000 to $20,000 per year. Now, I had glanced through the terms and conditions of some of the bookmakers, and they all referred in one way or another to their right to limit or close accounts if they identified what they called suspicious betting patterns. So to hopefully avoid detection, I started betting reasonably small amounts and recorded them in an old diary. No more than a couple of $100 per game, and everything was going well for about 6 weeks. Then bookmaker.com just cancelled 2 of my bets and closed my account. I wasn't actually notified of the cancelled bets until after the matches were completed. That was an ominous sign. Not long after that, my bets at Sportsbet were limited to very small amounts. I emailed them to ask why. Their response was that they didn't need to tell me because I had agreed when signing up that they had the right to limit or close my account at any time. Well, I already knew that, but what I wanted to know was what I'd actually done wrong to breach their so-called rules. After several emails and phone calls, the only thing they were willing to tell me was that they were not a customer-facing business, a bogus way of saying, get lost. It wasn't long before I was also banned by Unibet, Palmerbet and Centrebet. I didn't even bother to contact them. They clearly had protocols in place to identify consistent winners and limit or deny those winners from wagering on their site. I figured my time was going to be limited, so it was all out attack. I bet on every single arb I could find. I was betting on downhill skiing, curling, badminton, baseball, basketball, tennis, footy, soccer, golf, ice hockey, you name it. Any sport, anywhere, anytime. And I bet to the maximum that they would take or the maximum that my bank would allow. Sometimes they got the prices totally wrong and I was able to even get on more than one bet. Here I backed Geddon 3 times with Waterhouse and Antonescu 3 times with Bet365. Investment of $870 for a profit of $250. That's a return of 29% in one day. Well, in fact, a couple of hours. Amazing. And here are the 4 bets totalling over $17,000 that I made on one rugby league match for a profit of nearly $600. That was my biggest arb ever. I was eventually banned by Waterhouse and 10Bet, so I was down now to just Pinnacle, Bet365 and CrownBet as my only options. And CrownBet's prices were so bad they rarely came up as a viable option. So it was just Bet365 versus Pinnacle. Now Bet365 was sending me regular bonus cash in $20 lots as a reward for my patronage, and Pinnacle loved having arbitrage bettors using their site, so I thought I would still have some action at least. The number of opportunities had been seriously reduced, but nonetheless, in week 31 I invested over $40,000 for a profit of $1,225. In week 32 I invested nearly $30,000 for a profit of $865, and in week 33 I bet just over $20,000 for a profit of $714. Bet365 gave me my 10th loyalty bonus of $20 and then 2 days later closed my account. Go figure. The roller coaster ride had come to an end, unfortunately. Maybe I could have managed it differently and still had active accounts, but who knows? So what alerted them to my activity? Well, 4 main possibilities occur to me. Firstly, the extreme range of sports that I was betting on. Like, who in Australia seriously follows world curling? There would be a few, I suppose, but betting on curling would certainly draw attention. Secondly, the size of some of the bets, particularly on those obscure sports. Large bets on minor sports would undoubtedly show up on any analysis that they might do. Then there's the large deposits and withdrawals from the accounts, as an account might have $10,000 in it one day and then zero the next, after which there would be another large deposit made. Or perhaps the occasional large withdrawal being made would be of interest to them. I actually could have won more, but towards the end, I pretty much had all my available funds deployed across the 3 accounts that were accepting large bets. There were some arbs I just couldn't place because all the funds were in play at the time. Whatever, it was an interesting ride while it lasted. Before I finish up, I just want to comment on the Australian online bookmakers compared with Pinnacle Sports, with whom I bet most money, around $250,000 of the $750,000 that I wagered in total. Pinnacle had very, very tight spreads, sometimes running on a margin of less than 2%, compared with Aussie bookies whose spreads were more than double that. Here's a recent tennis match with the odds offered by Pinnacle and BetEasy. As you can see, the difference in prices is significant. Pinnacle provided a high quality service to professional as well as recreational gamblers, acting as a broker, if you like, to match opposing views. They offered very few, if any, exotic options designed to attract uninformed gamblers. Their maximum bet sizes were clearly displayed, were always way higher than the Aussie bookies, and my bets there were never refused. Aussie bookmakers have a totally different model. They lack both the ability and the desire to provide the service offered by Pinnacle. They prefer to target the truly recreational punter who treats their $5 bet like a glass of beer, reasonably cheap but sure to disappear soon. They have sign-up offers of free bets, although that may be ending soon, along with weekly specials that aren't really all that special to attract customers. Anyone taking advantage of these supposedly awesome specials are likely to get a text saying that the client is not betting in the spirit of the promotion. Seriously, here's a special promotion that you can only take advantage of if you promise to lose money somewhere else. And of course, they have an unbelievable array of wagering types with spreads that are far too wide. Then they encourage everyone to gamble responsibly. Come on, are they really serious? At no time did any of the bookmakers contact me with their concerns about the amount of money I was wagering. On one night I had over $8,000 invested on European ice hockey with Bet365. No contact. In week 31 I wagered $20,000 with Bet365 and their response was to give me another one of their $20 cash loyalty bonuses. They have no concern for the possible gambling addiction of their clients. Their motivation is all profit and at all costs, and anyone who's able to take advantage of opportunities are not welcome. Unfortunately, Pinnacle no longer offers a service in Australia, and any punters wishing to bet with them will need to engage the services of a broking service to place their bets. In the meantime, Aussie sports punters will need to negotiate a landscape where both state and federal governments allow online bookmakers to implement restrictive membership rules that should never have been allowed to exist in the first place. And of course, they are motivated by the tax grab they take from the bookies. Attempts to address this through court action has so far been unsuccessful. So to all those out there in YouTube land who are able to still take full advantage of any situation presented to them by the online bookmakers, in the words of Spock, live long and prosper. Until next time, I hope you all keep very well.